Over the past couple days, I replicated the exact builds of all 5 previous Best Ball Mania winners in Best Ball Mania 6. I said, Jesus, I see what you've done for other people, and I want that for me. The goal was to see which of these 5 BBM winning strategies still work today in the current ADP landscape and which we should discard as a relic of the past. The results of these teams will surprise you. Some of them turned out perfect. Others, not so much. Naturally, the first team I needed to replicate was the OG winning Best Ball Mania lineup from 2020, drafted by JustinHerzig. It was a 3-4-9-2 hyperfragile build where he took 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds in only 4 total. Luckily for this one, things got off to a perfect start. Check it out. Look at this. This is going to work out pretty well because we got the 1-6 slot. Herzig had the 6th slot as well for this draft. So this is perfect. If I can get Brock Bowers in the 2nd round where he got Kelsey, that would be a dream. I have pick 19. Brock Bowers ADP is 19. So that is going to be my huge sweat. If I don't, I'll take Trey McBride. Chase and Lamb go in the top 3. So that should set up well for me to be able to get, oh, wow, McCaffrey goes. So I'm going to get Bijan or Gibbs. This is an awesome start. Bijan does go. So Gibbs at 1-6. Nice start. So Herzig took Kamara in round 1. I took Jahmyr Gibbs. The Kamara pick for Herzig, that was the infamous week 17 game where Kamara had, I believe it was 6 touchdowns. If I can get a 6 touchdown game from Jahmyr Gibbs in week 17, we will hopefully be able to recreate this team successfully. Yeah, this is going to be a fun sweat here, whether I can get Brock Bowers to fall to me at 19. Here's my sweat. Can I please get Bowers? Yes. Yes. This is a perfect start. Not only am I recreating the Herzig team that I have wanted to recreate here with a running back and a tight end, but I'm able to do it at good prices. You know, even for the gimmick, I'm not having to reach to do it. And I also feel like you're getting some style points. Jahmyr Gibbs, you know, a pass catching explosive running back like Alvin Kamara was when Herzig took him here. And then Brock Bowers, you know, the new Travis Kelce, essentially, the guy who we're going to be taking in the first round of mini drafts to come, similar to Travis Kelce, who had that crown for so many years. So this start couldn't have gone any better for recreating the Herzig BBM draft. Jahmyr Gibbs as our Alvin Kamara, Brock Bowers as our Travis Kelce. Now in the 3rd round, Herzig took Chris Carson. So we will be looking at a running back in the 3rd. We're getting some running backs dropping. This could work out absolutely incredible. Chase Brown and Jacobs went, but Bucky and JT are still on the board. JT goes, even if Bucky goes here, I'm going to get Omari and Hampton. Bucky does go. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to go all the way down to Kyron there. Wouldn't have felt as good. So we have now started with Gibbs, Bowers, Hampton, mirroring the Herzig start of Kamara, Travis Kelce, and Chris Carson. In the 4th round, Herzig took Calvin Ridley. At the time, he was on Atlanta. This will be a good opportunity for us to go wide receiver in the 4th round. All right, we are about to be on the clock. I don't want to take Rashee Rice on this team. Terry McLaurin obviously dealing with some of the potential holdout stuff. I think DJ Moore represents a solid pick here as far as, you know, what I am trying to do. This is mirroring the Calvin Ridley pick. We'll take DJ Moore here as our wide receiver 1. And DJ Moore is going to be part of a 9 wide receiver room. So we're hopefully going to be able to withstand some of the volatility. Coming up in the 5th round, we'll be taking our 3rd running back. It's Kamara or Connor for me here. I think I will go Kamara. He's the best available running back by ADP. He has the nice thematic tie-in on this team. You know, if I wasn't trying to specifically do this challenge, obviously I'd probably be scooping up the dip on a Cortland Sutton or something here. But Alvin Kamara, you know, relevant on BBM1, and I'm going to need him to be relevant here in BBM6. In the 6th round, Herzig took T.Y. Hilton. Man, so many blasts from the past here. I think I'll do Olave. He's the best by ADP here. We have a bunch of Olave and Jennings in BBM, but feels like the right pick here. So Chris Olave will be our T.Y. Hilton selection. But we're about to pick at 78. I was gonna take Judy there. You know what I think we do? I think Godwin makes a ton of sense here. I know he's likely not going to be ready for the start of the season, but two things here. We're going to get to 9 wide receivers. So we're going to be able to make up for some of his early season production with some of these other guys. And on top of it, because we are going to come back around and look for Matt Ryan, our Matt Ryan in the 8th, Baker now becomes a much more palatable stack there. So Herzig coming up took Matt Ryan to pair with Calvin Ridley. Ideally, we're able to get Baker paired with Godwin. So this drafter goes Joe Mixon, and we are going to get Baker Mayfield, who is going to be our version of Matt Ryan there. Come on down at pick 91. Herzig selected Matt Ryan, and we select Baker Mayfield. So coming up next in round 9 will be our final running back here. So I'm going to be looking at a Tyrone Tracy, Sharps, or Spears as my final running back selection. I have to make this count. I might really go to Tajay Spears. This is actually fun because you really find out how you view these guys, who you like the most. And Tyrone Tracy goes, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going Tajay Spears over Sharps. I actually think their contingent value is really similar, but I think Tajay Spears, based on the coach speak, has a better chance at true standalone value. At 115 here, Herzig took John Brown. Remember John Brown? We will be taking another wide receiver here. Bateman is a pretty John Brown-ass pick. Honestly, Rashid Shaheed is kind of that as well. We do have Olave. You know what? I'm going to do this, a peace offering. It's been a bit for the community that I'm fading Shaheed. I'm going to do this for you guys. John Brown, Rashid Shaheed. Next up, we're going to have a tight end. So this is where Herzig took Rob Gronkowski. So let's see what tight end we'll be looking at 126. Goddard or Ferguson. I guess Kincaid as a last option. Yeah, we're going to go Goddard. And I think that works out well. You got the veteran, steady, tight end who's been good for a long time. He's going to be our Rob Gronkowski. So we go Brock and Goddard. We take him 8 picks ahead of ADP, but nothing egregious. And now we're going to be taking a quarterback in the 12th round. Man, if we're able to get Herbert at 139, that would be very sick. 1, because it would be a huge value. 2, because we need a quarterback. 3, because he pairs with Hampton. Let me do it. Come on. This drafter might be auto drafting. They go Ferguson. Yes. Yes. Herbert at 139, right when we need a quarterback and getting the little correlation angle there. So Justin Herbert is our Tom Brady on this team. Pick 139, we get Justin Herbert. Up next, we are going to be taking a wide receiver, and then it's one more quarterback. By ADP, Tillman, Dobbs. Dobbs goes. I think we do Demario Douglas here. I do like Tillman a good bit, but I think getting someone like Douglas who is going to project for a good amount of targets makes sense. So that was our Robbie Chosen selection at 150. We're going to be going quarterback in the 14th round and then 4 straight wide receivers to finish. All right, can we get Geno Smith to fall here? They go Anthony Richardson. Beautiful. Geno comes back. We get Geno stacked up with Brock. This was the Joe Burrow selection for Herzig in round 14 at pick 163, and we get Geno Smith at 163. Beautiful. And now we're 4 straight wide receivers to finish. So at pick 174, this was the James Washington selection for Herzig in the 15th round. 4 more wide receivers to finish this out. My dream would be able to get Wan'Dale Robinson and then Deontay Thornton. The other thing we could do is like Dante Thornton and then Slayton. Man, Dante Thornton goes. Okay. All right, we're going to take Wan'Dale Robinson. If I don't get Jack Besh, I will survive. I will survive if I don't get Jack Besh. This actually worked well because I wanted to get one other Raider there with Geno. So we get Jack Besh at 187. I've been a Besh hater. I think he was way overdrafted early on. But man, at 187, we're now firmly in a great range to take Jack Besh. 2 more wide receivers here. So the Jack Besh selection was the Braylon Edwards pick. And then there was Kendrick Bourne and KJ Hamler. Jalen Knoll is very KJ Hamler-esque. I'm very much hoping he falls to me here. Jalen Knoll goes. All right. All right, that's a bummer. That is a bummer. We do have a bunch of week 8 buys. So, Michael Wilson is here. I think what we do is we go Darius Slayton and we try to get Keandre Lambert-Smith as our final selection. So we'll go double giants here, Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton. KLS goes. Bummer. That would have been the fun selection. But yeah, let's do the rookie wide receiver who probably not going to do anything most of the year, but then spikes in week 17. That can be our Alec Iomanor. If not, we can do Tesla. All right. Iomanor is here. Week 17 bring back on our New Orleans stuff as well. And there it is. The 3-4-9-2 executed exactly like Herzig's winning BBM team from BBM1 over 5 years ago. It's going to be tough to top this first draft because everything broke perfectly for me, including getting the same 106 draft slot. Gibbs Bowers is the perfect spiritual successor to Kamara Kelsey, and everything else fell into place as well. It does feel weird taking 9 wide receivers in a 2025 draft where the meta is clearly higher quality wide receivers, but less quantity. But the principles of hyperfragile hold up surprisingly well in this landscape. I don't think hyperfragile is the dominant strategy for 2025 because getting an elite wide receiver in one of the first 2 rounds does feel optimal. But this first draft experiment made it clear to me that it's more than viable and likely underutilized by the field. I think with looser constraints that don't force you to take running backs in specific rounds like I gave myself, I think it's possible to build very strong teams with 3 running backs early and 4 total. Doing it from the 2 hole is probably the perfect spot because you can do something like Bijan, then get Bucky or JT, and then one of Jacobs, Chase Brown, Omari, and Hampton in the 3rd. Up next, though, we have a recreation of the winning BBM2 team drafted by the world's biggest Bills homer and my former chess coach, ChessLiam. All right, we are back to replicate the BBM2 winning team. This was the one ChessLiam won, and he started out with 2 straight running backs. Now, the one thing that's not ideal about this one is he drafted from the 8 slot, and we are drafting from the 2 slot. Can't control my draft slots in these, so we just got to live with what we get. But we're going to make this work. He took Jonathan Taylor at the back end of round 1. We're going to start with Bijan Robinson as our first selection here. Round 5 is going to be tricky for quarterback. I mean, the hope, right, would be Hurts would fall to 50. That seems unlikely. If Hurts isn't there, I'm probably going to have to take Joe Burrow, which means I should heavily consider T. Higgins in the 3rd at pick 25 if I get him, but who knows? All right, Chase Brown goes, so it'll be one of Bucky or Josh Jacobs. I have pretty similar exposures to both in Best Ball Mania. I'll probably break the tie in favor of Bucky just because they don't have the same bye week. We'll do Bucky and Bijan here to start, as Liam started Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones, and then we'll be taking a wide receiver in round 3. If this drafter doesn't go T. Higgins, I'm definitely taking T because T with Burrow feels the best. And yes, we get T. Higgins, which if I'm having to do a round 5 quarterback, the dream is that Hurts for some reason slides. That's the dream. But this drafter here from the 5 hole who has AJ Brown at pick 20, there's basically no way they would pass on Jalen Hurts at pick 44. So at least I'm setting myself up for the one pick that doesn't feel absolutely gross because otherwise I'm basically pulling Mahomes up. Wow. So the AJ Brown drafter took Lamar. Very small chance. We're gonna have a prayer at it, but we're taking a wide receiver here. This was the Jamar Chase. We are on the clock here. Let's do it. I'm going to go for the stylistic thing. We're going to go Travis Hunter. You know, Jamar Chase was the best wide receiver in that class. Travis Hunter gets drafted 2nd overall. Let's go ahead and take Travis Hunter here as the Jamar Chase on this team. What was I thinking? If I take Devontae Smith, maybe he lets Jalen Hurts go. I let him do that double stack. Shame on me. All right, I have to take Joe Burrow here. Man, I played bad. Why didn't I think of that? I was too hung up on trying to find the archetype of Jamar Chase that I didn't think to do Devontae Smith and then give myself a chance. Man, this team could have been so much better. Idiot streamer. Damn it. I will say, because I'm not streaming and recording these, essentially off hours, I am getting a lot more badgeless drafters in here. So, Burrow coming back would have been no given in a room like this. I'm coping. I wish I would have thought of the Devontae Smith thing. I guess that's why it's a challenge, because there's a lot of things we have to juggle in our head. So after Josh Allen, Liam took back-to-back wide receivers in the 6th and 7th round, and that should work out really nice for me. I pick at 71 and 74. ADP wise, I'm going to guess Addison's going to fall there. You're looking at Diggs, Igbuka, Matthew Golden. I would love to get like Addison and one of the rookies, Igbuka or Golden there. So Liam went Claypool and Tyler Boyd here. What would we like to do? I think Diggs makes sense here. We'll go Diggs and then we'll get one of the rookies coming back, or we could just try to get both rookies. I've been actually trying to get my Igbuka up. Let's try to get both rookies here. I'm going to try to go for Igbuka and Golden, and we get them both. Let me just again make sure that this was actually yes. So after Josh Allen, we took Joe Burrow. Then he went Chase Claypool and Tyler Boyd, and we're going to go Igbuka and Matthew Golden. So we have 3 rookie wide receivers on this team. But the reason I do kind of like that is Liam got to 9 wide receivers on this team. He took 3 late. So the fact that we're going to be getting a lot of volume at wide receiver, I think makes sense to get some really high upside options early. So these next 2 picks, he went running back, tight end, Damian Harris, and then Noah Fant. So I think the most realistic is like Mason and Warren, and then Andrews, I think, would be my play. Andrews is opposite Golden in week 17, so that's a nice little bonus. Who is going to be our Damian Harris here? I think Brian Robinson at pick 95 is too good of a deal to pass up on, even though we're all Ja'Cory pilled right now. I think Brian Robinson here is still a good bet. I'm going to do Mark Andrews here. I'm surprised he hasn't been rising up with the Isaiah Likely injury stuff, the surgery. Who knows how long that's going to linger. Mark Andrews as my Noah Fant here in the 9th round feels very good. Liam could not help himself and took Cole Beasley in the 10th round and then took his quarterback in the 11th. So at 122, the wide receiver selection is not going to feel good at 122. Definitely not going to feel good. Maybe Chris, I can't say it. I almost said it. Please, I didn't do the swear jar. Slot Demon. That would make sense. All I want is to be able to get one of Rashad Bateman or the Slot Demon. Bateman, I get the bonus of correlating with week 17 and getting another bet on the Ravens. Slot Demon just gives me some leadership in this young wide receiver room. So I'm going to get one of them. Great. Now the question is which one? I think the Bateman value would make sense here. So Bateman goes, that's fine. The Slot Demon is a Cole Beasley ass pick. I mean, Cole Beasley was the original Slot Demon. So that makes sense for us. And then we're going to be doing quarterback here. I think Love is definitely going to be my guy. Liam took Justin Fields here. I think Love as both the best ADP value. I think it could be Love or Lawrence, but I like Love here with Golden. Let me make sure the bye week issues, no issues here. These are the only 2 quarterbacks Liam selected, Allen and Fields. And so we are now done at quarterback with Joe Burrow and Jordan Love. And then we're going to be looking at a tight end in the 12th round. So yeah, it's going to either be Strange or Hunter Henry as our 12th round tight end selection, or Gesicki. You could also, I guess, make the case to just pull up Gesicki all the way here. But man, taking Gesicki at pick 143 when they add Noah Fant doesn't feel great. Man, sometimes these tight ends slide, but that was not going to happen here. I think I have to decide between Strange, Henry, and Gesicki. I think Strange is probably the prudent move. ADP of 157. So he's the least of the reaches. And we've already made a bet on the Jags with Travis Hunter. So we'll go Andrews and Strange as our 2 tight ends. Doesn't feel great, but it is what it is. And now we need to find a slot demon. Can we get Romeo Doubs? Is Romeo Doubs here? Yes, this is perfect. So we have Jordan Love. We're going to get the double stack here. Romeo Doubs, very similar to the slot demon who we selected earlier. So now we have 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, and 1 running back to finish this draft out. All right, at pick 167, we have to find our Rashad Penny. Who could be... We could do like a Jalen Wright. I think could certainly make sense. He goes, man, this is no fun. I need a guy with some legit burst. I think I'm just going to do Will Shipley again. It doesn't feel great. We do get the week 17 correlation, but we are back on the clock. We need to take a wide receiver. And I do think we need to go with the rookie wide receiver. Let's go Dante Thornton. Let's go Dante Thornton here. We're trying to find this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown. I do not think Dante Thornton is this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he has been one of my favorite wide receiver selections back here. Actually, Jalen Knoll would have been another good one. So Liam went Rashad Penny and then Amon-Ra St. Brown in back-to-back rounds, 14, 15. And they ended up playing in week 17 and just being the absolute mini correlation you need. We go Will Shipley and Dante Thornton there. All right, we're going to be looking to take 2 wide receivers here. Liam went De'Ami Brown and MVS. We have Joe Burrow and Jordan Love. I actually think Yoshi Voss would be a really strong pick. He's having a good camp. And Jalen Knoll, though, I would love to get on this team as well. We have some of the correlation. Yeah, I think Jalen Knoll and then Yoshi Voss would be a great 8-9 punch here. And I'd love to get to the double stack there. Beautiful, beautiful. So we get to the 9 wide receivers there. Liam had 9 wide receivers. We get there. T. Higgins, Travis Hunter, Emeka Egbuka, Matthew Golden, Slot Demon, Romeo Dobbs, Dante Thornton, Jalen Knoll, and Yoshi Voss. A nice blend there of veterans and rookies. Yoshi Voss gives us the double stack. Knoll and Thornton give us even more rookie upside. But then we do have the Slot Demon, Romeo Dobbs, as some built-in production there. And then we'll be taking one last running back flyer. I would love to select Taj Brooks on this team. I doubt Taj Brooks makes it all the way back to 215. Giddens, I think, is just a great pick at 215. We also get him opposite Strange and Hunter in week 17, which feels pretty good. Boom. All right, DJ Giddens all the way to pick 215. People are bored with the flavor of the mid part of the summer. We did it, a 2592, the same build that Liam used to ship BBM2. We're going to try to ship it here from a different draft slot, but the exact same pick by pick positionally through 18 rounds. I like this team. The tight end room is definitely thin for my liking. But other than that, everything broke pretty nicely here. And being able to get T and set up Joe Burrow, knowing I had to take a 5th quarterback, I think was a smart move. But the unsmart move and the devastating move was not taking Devontae Smith over Travis Hunter and giving myself a chance to get Jalen Hurts in the 5th. Elite quarterback in the 5th round where Liam got Allen is basically impossible to replicate in 2025 now that Jalen Hurts routinely goes in round 4. A less rigid version of this exercise would simply flip Liam's round 5 QB with a round 4 elite QB and then just do a wide receiver in round 5 instead. But hey, I made the rules and I had to follow them. I made it work with Joe Burrow, and fortunately I planned for that dynamic by taking T. Higgins in the early 3rd, but it's hard not to salivate over a 2v2 of Hunter Burrow versus Hurts Devonta that I could have potentially pulled off. That was a massive misstep by me and something that would have made this team look much, much better. The other part about this build that is very tough to pull off is only 2 selected tight ends in rounds 9 and 12. Andrews is a solid tight end 1, but then I missed out on the tier of really strong tight end 2s like Dallas Goedert and Jake Ferguson, and then had to settle for Brenton Strange. In any other draft, I would be adding a 3rd tight end to a tight end room that only had Andrews and Strange, so that didn't feel great. Overall, though, I think the strategy of double anchor RB plus elite quarterback is a very strong strategy for 2025. It's just mandatory if you're doing that to hammer the shit out of wide receivers in rounds 4 through 7 after going down that path. All right, next up, I try to bottle up the same magic that my pal Pat Kerrane enjoyed in his winning BBM3 draft. Let's see how it went. And today we got the BBM3 draft. My pal Pat Kerrane from Ship Chasing Legendary Upside. He shipped it from the 7 hole. We have the 5 hole here, and he started with Austin Eckler as his round 1 running back, and we will be taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Or should we take Christian McCaffrey? Christian McCaffrey feels more like the Eckler. Eckler was still kind of a veteran at the time when he won that, maybe slightly undervalued there a little bit. Let's do CMC here. CMC feels more Eckler-esque to me as we try to get both style points and accomplish these builds blow for blow, pick for pick. DailyRojo had a 3-5-8-2. Austin Eckler, Barkley. So we'll be going running back in the 2nd round as well. So this will be a running back pick here. Barkley, JT feels very Barkley-esque. You know, at this time, Barkley was slightly undervalued as a 2nd round pick, despite coming into the league with the high pedigree there. Similar, you know, people a little afraid of the Colts being a bad offense in the way that they were afraid of the Giants with Barkley then being a bad offense. So we're going to start CMC JT as our Austin Eckler Barkley, and then we'll be coming back in the third and fourth with 2 wide receivers. Garrett Wilson here. I think Garrett Wilson definitely makes sense as the pick. Garrett Wilson feels pretty DJ Moore-y to me. A really good talent who at the time in Carolina was dealing with some poor quarterback play. Still, though, showcased his ability for spike weeks. I think that's what the hope is for Garrett Wilson. I think Jameson is kind of similar a little bit to Waddle too, but I would love to get Pickens here because I think Pickens is this year's wide receiver too. He's this year's T. Higgins. And he goes. I sung his praises too much. We'll do JMO though. Let's do Jameson Williams here. I don't take a lot of him, but I like what he represents on this team. All right, so this pick, Laporta's already in the queue. Kenneth Walker falling a little bit here. Would have been a very nice selection, but we're going Laporta. Laporta as our Kittle. Reaching 20 picks doesn't feel great, but this is what I boxed myself into with this challenge. In the 6th round, Pat took Chris Godwin. I'll be taking a wide receiver here. I think Olave or Debo as our Chris Godwin would make a lot of sense. Looks like we will get one of them. I have to decide which one of these I want. Been trying to get a little more Debo lately, just with the Terry McLaurin uncertainty. Yeah, let's do Debo here. Debo Samuel going to be our Chris Godwin on this team. And then Pat came back in the 7th and took Hunter Renfrow. Hunter frickin' Renfrow. Jacoby Myers is basically this year's Hunter Renfrow at the time. Diggs is pretty Hunter Renfrow-y. Man, Addison's going to keep sliding, huh? I mean, we're going to be buying this Addison dip. We knew he was going to be suspended 3 games. I will say that Jordan Addison is not very Hunter Renfrow-y, but again, that's just for style points. Yeah, we're going to be buying this Jordan Addison dip over the next month here. And so we're going to go ahead and grab him as our Hunter Renfrow. And then we're going to have to make a quarterback selection in the 8th round. The thing that Pat had with all of his quarterbacks were some individual stacks, Tua with Waddle, Brady with Godwin, and then he had Daniel Jones with Wan'Dale Robinson. I kind of like the Brock Purdy angle. But at that point, is Brock that much different than Goff? I mean, yes, I slightly prefer him. I think Brock should be where I go here. I think we go Brock. Then we could take Brandon Ayuk coming back. We could also do Fields. Why am I complicating this? Why am I complicating this so much? We have Garrett Wilson. Fields is 2nd on via the leg up ranks is the best available. It's the best of the ADP values there, and it stacks up. We're going to just do Justin Fields. I don't know why I made that so hard. Reaching even a round ahead of ADP is just so hard for me, apparently. But we get Justin Fields as our Tom Brady. Couldn't be more stylistically different. Tyler Lockett in the 9th round was Pat's selection, so we'll be looking at a wide receiver here. Cooper Kupp is essentially the new Tyler Lockett. Michael Pittman would make a little bit of sense there as well, but it's definitely going to be Cooper Kupp for me if he falls here, especially with Addison missing the first few games. Wow, this worked out perfect. I mean, not only do we get the veteran Seattle wide receiver, but we get them at a nice value here relative to their ADP. Cooper Kupp, ADP at 94, we get him at 101 here. Pat came back now in the 10th round and took his 3rd running back, Ramondre Stevenson at pick 116. We should have some decent options for a running back. All right, I'm going to get one of Sharps or Spears. I mean, Sharps on the team with Cooper Kupp, I think is pretty nice. Again, leaning into what Pat did, which was a heavy concentration on just a couple of teams. All right, Sharps falls here. I guess it's not a huge fall. His ADP is 112. We're going to do Sharps with Cooper Kupp here. And now we're going to be looking at another wide receiver here. So Pat took Jacoby Myers in the 11th round at pick 127. We will be now taking our Jacoby Myers in round 11. We are on the clock. Who feels Jacoby Myers-y this year? I really don't want to take... Man, this area of the board is pretty bad. Let's do Joshua Palmer. At the last second, I just made a stylistic decision to go with Josh Palmer. I truly feel like almost all of these wide receivers are very similar, and they also have a lot of issues. But with Palmer rising on the Shakir stuff, we're throwing out wide receiver ADP in this range. But at 140, we'll be taking a quarterback. I would love to get JJ McCarthy here, but there's basically no way he continues to fall. Holy cow. This is a fun sweat because I guess JJ McCarthy's been having a rough camp. And so he's been, I guess, now sliding because of that. Wow. Wow. I like Jaden Blue, but on that team, all right, I did not think I would get a stacked quarterback at a nice price like this. So JJ McCarthy as our 2 in the 12th round. And now we have to take a tight end. Kyle Pitts will be my selection if he is here. Hunter Henry would be the play if I really want to lean into the game stack. Who feels more Mike Gesicki as at the time? It does kind of feel like Kyle Pitts. I mean, Mike Gesicki was perennially underused. Let's go ahead and do Kyle Pitts here. We'll do Kyle Pitts as our Mike Gesicki. And then we're going to come back in the 14th and take a quarterback. This is going to be our final quarterback. Pat famously got to 3 quarterbacks, Tua, Daniel Jones, and Brady. Both Brady and Daniel Jones went nuts in that week 17. They were the top 2 scoring quarterbacks, and he could only use one of their scores. Man, the quarterbacks are hanging around. I would really like to be able to get Bryce Young on this team. Honestly, 4 like legitimately good options for me to select a quarterback here in the 14th when Pat took Daniel Jones. So I think I want to play this as a game stack through the Bryce Young side. Like if I'm going to get Bryce Young at a 10 pick value, who I much prefer to Sam Darnold, I can play that game through that. So there we go. We had Bryce Young as our Daniel Jones, and now we have 4 more picks. 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. Pat went Wan'Dale Robinson, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michel, Tyquan Thornton. Jalen McMillan opposite Carolina. I think Wan'Dale is opposite Minnesota in 16. I have been selecting a good bit of McMillan. I feel like it's a little apropos too. Jalen McMillan was the ship chasing clip his rookie year. Pat, of course, I do ship chasing with. We'll do Jalen McMillan. I think on this team where we are building up a pretty deep wide receiver room at 7 wide receivers, Wilson, Jameson Williams, Debo, Addison, Kupp, Palmer, McMillan. I kind of like the swing on McMillan. Some fun options here for running backs. The only 3 we have, and this was kind of the hallmark of Pat's double anchor team. He had CMC and JT for us. It was Eckler and Barkley for him. He came and took Ramondre Stevenson, and we took our Zach Charbonnet. So some of my favorites here, Shipley, Taj Brooks. I wouldn't do DJ Giddens behind Jonathan Taylor. Jarquez Hunter would certainly be in that mix for me. Shipley is the guy for a team like this where I really need a big contingent upside swing, because this is still kind of a thin running back room, even though it has CMC and JT. Sharps could be a 0. We're going to need someone else to emerge as like a really big bell cow back. And I do think Shipley has that in him. So Shipley is our Raheem Mostert. We're going to come back and take our 5th and final running back here. I think Jarquez Hunter is definitely my preferred option. Jarquez Hunter has correlation opposite both Atlanta, Kyle Pitts, and Seattle, and gives me a rookie running back upside swing, which I'd like to have on this team. So that works out well. Let's take Jarquez Hunter as our 5th running back. And now we'll be landing the plane with a wide receiver. This wide receiver selection can definitely be a high upside one. I think Jalen Coker is my preferred. I mean, I have Bryce Young. I don't have him stacked up with anyone. All right, now I have to decide who do I want, Coker or Reynolds. I think I'm going to go Reynolds. I've been selecting Coker all summer, and I know it feels weird to do unstacked Bryce Young, but I don't think it's bad, especially because I'm playing for that game stack, and I think Bryce Young can run a little bit. I also think it could be spread out too, the production. So yeah, let's do Josh Reynolds. I do think his outlook continues to improve. I want to be mixing up my week 18 bets in August, doing things I wasn't doing with information I didn't have. So there you go. Josh Reynolds as our Tyquan Thornton. We get to the same 3-5-8-2 that helped Pat Kerrane ship BBM3, Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young, CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Charbonnet, Will Shipley, Jarquez Hunter, Garrett Wilson, Jameson Williams, Debo Samuel, Jordan Addison, Cooper Kupp, Joshua Palmer, Jalen McMillan, Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta, and Kyle Pitts. This build is actually pretty similar to Liam's BBM2 construction, except it just swaps out elite quarterback for an elite tight end. And of course, having to locate an elite tight end in round 5 in 2025 is basically impossible. To stay true to the prompt, though, I was forced to pull up Sam Laporta, which, yes, it feels very gross taking him 20-some picks ahead of ADP, but it isn't the end of the world. Live a little, I guess. If you're doing elite tight end in 2025, though, you really need Bowers in round 2, McBride in round 3, or George Kittle in round 4. Otherwise, I think this strategy from Karain, especially 3 cheap correlated quarterbacks, takes advantage of the 2025 draft meta where there are so many quarterback values going in rounds 8 or later. I recommend checking out the recent draft video I did with Sacrilegious, where he expands on why the Sims like 3 quarterbacks so much. Pat's winning team featured 7 players from one game, Patriots versus Dolphins, and I tried to pay homage to his big game stack with the McCarthy-Addison stack and a double Lions bringback with JMO and Laporta. Overall, this still strikes me as a dominant build, and if you want to recreate it successfully, you just need to pay up for tight end a little earlier than Pat was able to do in 2022. By the way, we have a full deep dive video on Karain's winning team on this channel if you want to check that out after. It's called The Anatomy of a $1 Million Lineup. Okay, it's now time for our first 0 RB build in a recreation of Fareed Shahid's BBM4 winning team. All right, we are back for another draft. This is BBM4. This is our guy Fareed. He did it from the 11 slot. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the 11 slot here, but we are going to be starting wide receiver as Fareed did. His username, of course, Amin0811. He had the legendary Amon-Ra CeeDee Lamb start. So he did Amon-Ra CeeDee Lamb. In that year, the Cowboys and the Lions played each other. And part of the appeal of those two selections was that week 17 correlation. Amon-Ra is already gone, so I'm not going to be able to get the Detroit, Minnesota connection here, but I could take Jameson Williams in the 4th round. That would fulfill the 4th wide receiver. All right, I will be taking another wide receiver here. Really hope I can get Ladd McConkey. If not, I don't love the wide receiver selection I will be forced to make. Please let me have Ladd. That is brutal. I really am not enjoying touching Tyreek Hill these days. I'm going to do T. Higgins, but that was a bummer. It went London, Brown, Ladd. Would have loved any one of those, but I'll take T. Higgins. In the 3rd round, he went with Amari Cooper. So we will be taking another wide receiver here. You could go Marvin Harrison or Devontae Adams. Let's go ahead and do Marvin Harrison. I don't take him a lot, but I do get the week 17 correlation opposite T. Higgins. And again, one of the things on Amin's lineup was a lot of week 17 correlation. He had the Green Bay, Minnesota game in a big way, and he had obviously the Dallas, Detroit game. So we will continue to pay homage with a 4 wide receiver start and also trying to get in some week 17 correlation. All right, let's see which wide receiver we are able to get here in the 4th. Amin started with 5 straight wide receivers. There goes George Pickens. I think I'm going to go with this Jameson Williams angle if I can get it. Wow, I'm getting sniped left and right on this one. I have to go wide receiver. I think DJ Moore makes sense. Caleb is also in that quarterback window we're looking at. So let's go ahead and take DJ Moore as our 4th wide receiver there. And then we'll be taking a final 5th wide receiver in round 5. Yeah, this works out perfect. Zay Flowers goes and Travis Hunter. So this is honestly perfect. I faded Tyreek Hill in round 2. So I take Jalen Waddle here. I also get the Tua 12th round quarterback out. So there we go. Our 5 straight wide receivers, a tip of the cap to our 0 RB Best Ball Mania winner, Amin. Now I need to knock it out of the park at running back with these next 3 selections. I believe I will go with DeAndre Swift. I do have DJ Moore, so I like getting double Bears players here. Let's take DeAndre Swift as our Alexander Mattison. And this actually is a fitting tribute because his next pick in round 7 was DeAndre Swift when he was on the Eagles. So this one has the nice tie-in there. I think David Montgomery is an awesome selection for us here. He slips past ADP and he correlates with Justin Jefferson in week 17. David Montgomery as our DeAndre Swift here. Our final running back pick for a little bit here in round 8. I do think Brian Robinson, I mean, I'm trying to sell myself into him being James Connery. We're going to do it. He's definitely more James Connery than Jalen Warren. Maybe it even isn't. I don't know. Would have preferred Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason, but they both go. So Amin starts 5 straight wide receivers, then goes 3 straight running backs, and then grabs his quarterback in the 9th round. Caleb Williams makes a ton of sense for us here. Fields would be the other direction we could go if we want. I think I'm going to go with Caleb. I do straight up like Fields more But when you have Swift and DJ Moore, we're going to need Caleb to be cooking. So Caleb will be our guy there. We'll now be taking 2 tight ends in a row here. Loveland, obviously, on a Caleb Williams team is the dream, but I will certainly settle for Tyler Warren as well. All I want to do is fade back-to-back tight ends here. Okay, there goes one. Please don't do it. Mother of God. I'm so scared. Tyler Warren goes first. Please, please, please. Just let me have Colston Loveland on this team. Don't do it. Thank you. Whew. Oh, that was scary. That was scary. Colston Loveland, very cromulent pick for this team. He can be our Sam Laporta, technically the Pat Fryermuth for this challenge, but wanted that rookie breakout there, and we get it correlated. And now we'll be taking another tight end here. I will be perfectly content with Goddard or Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson, man, Goddard goes. Can I please have Ferguson at least? Barely capturing the end of some of these tiers here. Man, this has been a sweaty draft. And now we'll be taking a quarterback in the 12th round. I think we're going to be doing Tua here. Tua is the only quarterback that makes sense. We have Waddle. I think that's just the way to go on this one. We could also do the backdoor stack. That's the other option. We have no correlation with Bryce Young. I think Tua still makes sense. Also, Amin's team had Tua on it. So that is a little hat tip again. Our next pick is going to be in the 13th round, and it will be a running back. Jaden Blue goes at 141. Benson goes. Sampson goes. Man, all the fun running backs going. I mean, I don't like it, but I'll take Ramondre at pick 149. I don't like it, but I'll do it. All right. Sure. I mean, especially on a team like this, where I'm still relatively thin at running back, Swift, Montgomery, Brian Robinson, we have to take Ramondre at pick 149 as our Raheem Mostert. Now we're going to be coming back and getting our 3rd tight end here. Our 3rd tight end in the 14th round likely goes, man. So yeah, I'm down into the Zach Ertz range. Zach Ertz is a Jawan Johnson-ass pick. All right, Zach Ertz is the Jawan Johnson. That works. Colston Loveland, Jake Ferguson, Zach Ertz. The next pick is a wide receiver. This is our final wide receiver. We had the 5 early: Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle. Amin had the 5 early: Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Christian Watson, George Pickens. And he just takes one more. Jaden Reed ended up being a key difference maker there with multiple spike weeks, including one in week 17. Dante Thornton could be a good pick. You know, Jalen Knoll is my go-to kind of rookie. So we can do Jalen Knoll. That's my guy. And he definitely fits the bill as that potential upside rookie difference maker. Jalen Knoll, can he be our Jaden Reed this year? And then we have 2 running backs, Chuba Hubbard and Kyron, as the 16th and 18th round selections. All right, who is going to be our Chuba Hubbard? The Nick Chubb stuff has been fairly bearish, and yet I think I would kick the tires on him here. I also don't mind the handcucking with Roshan and Swift. Yeah, I think I'm going to do Roshan. Chubb is the big ADP faller, but I kind of like the Swift Roshan angle, especially on a Caleb team. Let's do that. We'll do Roshan Johnson here in the 16th. I'm going to put Dart in the queue, just make sure if there's nothing else I'm missing. Like, it's not in the spirit of the CJ Stroud, but I think Aaron Rodgers is just a much better pick. I can't take Jackson Dart over Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers in the 17th. You can see here the leg up ranks. They have him at 158. Let's just get a better QB3 here with Aaron Rodgers. Not sexy, I know. And then we'll be making one final rookie running back selection to land the plane. Or not rookie. I always just default to assuming rookie. I'll put some names in here. Yeah. Miles Sanders, Shipley, Taj Brooks, Giddens. Shipley is opposite the Washington guys, Ertz and Brian Robinson in week 16. Let me get Shipley at pick 212. Thank you. There you have it. Fareed's build was the first BBM winner that flipped the script on the RB heavy starts that we saw in BBM 1, 2, and 3. It's interesting because the triple onesie build, 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, is very popular in 2025, but pairing it with 0 RB isn't. The running backs going in rounds 6 through 8 this year are frankly pretty gross in this current landscape. So this exact build and running back room that I made doesn't necessarily feel great. And yet I kind of like how this team turned out. The one thing about going 5 wide receivers early is you really need to hit on that 6th wide receiver like Fareed did with Jaden Reed. I took a swing on one of my favorite rookies, Jalen Knoll, to be the read on this team, but the gap between those two as prospects and in their draft capital illustrates how much rookies have gotten priced up in these contests over the past 2 years. I wish I could have landed a late draft slot for this one because the wide receiver start is perfect from the 112 in 2025. In a recent draft with Kyle Dvorak on Best Ball Breakfast, we did a somewhat similar 0 RB start that I think is the true 2025 version of what Fareed did. It was Puka Nacua, Brian Thomas, JSN, and Mike Evans. And then we followed that with 2 rookie running backs in rounds 5 and 6, RJ Harvey and Trevion Henderson. Once again, this shows a little flexibility with these structures goes a long way, and it kind of proves the flaw in my exercise, even though it was really fun to do it by the letter of the law. Ultimately, I think 4 to 5 elite wide receivers early can still be a dominant strategy. It just depends on your draft slot and how the board falls. Okay, it's time for our final dupe attempt, this time of the winning BBM5 lineup by user LGREW50. We are in another draft. This time, we are going to mirror the team that won last year, BBM5. Of all the Best Ball Mania winners, this is the first one to remain completely anonymous. I don't believe they've done any content, any interviews, nothing. But we are going to mirror what they did from the 1-4 slot in their Best Ball Mania winning team last year. They took Ja'Marr Chase first overall, so we will be taking a wide receiver. I'm hoping that I'm able to get Jefferson here. They do go Jefferson, but you know what? Ja'Marr Chase defined the season last year. I think if there's someone that actually defines the season at wide receiver outside of Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, I think it's Malik Neighbors. Obviously feels right, both of them being LSU guys. We're going to go Malik Neighbors as this year's Ja'Marr Chase. So let's see, who is going to be our version of Jonathan Taylor? Looking at running backs, I think it's going to be Bucky Irving. I think we're going to go with Bucky Irving here. I could also do Chase Brown. You know what? Let's do Chase Brown. Chase Brown was on this team. Obviously, he's more expensive this year, but you know, anytime I can get a little wink and a nod to the specific team that was drafted last year, let's go ahead and do it. There's basically no chance Worthy comes back to 44. I was going to say it would be nice to have a Chiefs wide receiver, just knowing that the Mahomes slot is there. I might do it. You know, one of the things we've done on this channel is ignoring I think I want to give myself a chance to get, because I am playing ahead to make this work as possible. And I think Worthy is in this conversation with these guys. I think the round 3, round 4, we're going to pull up Xavier Worthy here, probably setting one of the high picks on Xavier Worthy, but we're trying to make this work to the best of our ability. And looking at the round 8 quarterback selection, knowing I'm taking a running back in round 8, I would really like to give myself a chance for that to be Mahomes. So in round 4, LG took T. Higgins. We'll be taking another wide receiver here. I could do the double stack with Rashee Rice. I was light on Rashee Rice. I think taking Rashee Rice will also increase our chances of being able to get Mahomes. We're really hoping for that Mahomes fall. If I let Rice go, who is the best pick by ADP here, and I know his ADP has obviously been sliding, but this seems like a good opportunity relative to this specific challenge and what I'm trying to do. And I do like what I'm essentially mirroring, right? This LG team hit on Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, and that was a smash trio. And I'm going to essentially try to set up doing the same thing, but with Worthy, Rice, and Mahomes. It will be devastating if I can't get Patrick Mahomes in the 8th round. I've now basically put the quality of this team in the hands, or specifically on the result of being able to get Mahomes. In the BBM1 recreation draft, I pulled up Kamara in this spot. I think in this one, I'll pull up James Conner. There's a chance that Kyler is the quarterback we have to do instead of Mahomes. So I'd like to have a little correlation there. I'm not going to have Marv or McBride, obviously. So Conner makes sense here as the Pacheco for this team. In the 6th round, this is where we have to find our George Kittle. So we'll put Laporta in the queue. And then coming back at pick 77 will be another wide receiver. This is where they took Brian Thomas, who was the league-winning rookie. I would love to be able to get Golden or Ibuka right there. And that's the exact spot that their ADPs are, 76, 77. That's the exact spot for that league-winning rookie selection. First round draft capital, slightly undervalued. We are about to pick at 6'8", just basically hoping that this drafter here at 6'7" doesn't go rogue and reach for Laporta. There are plenty of players higher in ADP, so we should be able to get Laporta here, who will end up being 7 selections ahead of ADP, and we will be able to get Laporta. So there we go. We add Sam Laporta as our George Kittle in the 6th round. They selected George Kittle at pick 69. We take Laporta at 68. Now it is time to get our rookie wide receiver. It doesn't have to be a rookie wide receiver. It lines up ADP wise. And then again, just thematically, this year's Brian Thomas. I mean, if there's 2 candidates for this year's Brian Thomas, it's either Matthew Golden or Emeka Egbuka. So let's just hope one of those can fall to me here. Egbuka goes. Man, this is going to be a sweat. If not, we can take a Reed or a Diggs. Okay, come on. Can you let us get Golden here? Yes. All right, we get Golden. This year's Brian Thomas. The big sweat here is, can we get Patrick Mahomes to fall to 92? I'm worried about this drafter here in the 11 hole. They're a non-badge and they don't have a quarterback. I'm nervous. Okay, they go Jaden Higgins. Here's another team without a quarterback. Fuck. Not ideal. Not ideal. I mean, I knew it was a little bit of a long shot. I thought by taking both Worthy and Rice that I would give myself a chance, but this drafter goes with naked Patrick Mahomes. So we still have to take a quarterback. We could do Bo Nix. We could do Fields. We could do Purdy. I'm trying to think. Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix might be the play. Bo Nix, I think, is the play because he still gives us correlation to the Week 17 game with the Chiefs, which is something we want to do. This team won Best Ball Mania in large part because of having the Kittle, Pearsall, and Purdy. We're going to go unstacked Bo Nix, but it is stacked up opposite Rashi and Xavier Worthy. Man, that is not near as fun, though, as getting the Patrick Mahomes as this year's Joe Burrow. But this next pick is going to be a running back. Who could be this year's James Conner? Travis Etienne is kind of the mold of the guy everybody gets spooked about because of the new rookie that gets drafted. I'm going to keep doing Spears here, though. I'm going to keep doing Spears. I'm really bummed that I couldn't get Dobbins. And this next selection will be a quarterback. And I will be looking at either Jared Goff or Jordan Love. All right, Jared Goff goes. So this is actually going to put I swear to God, if I don't get Jordan Love here. The Jaden Reed drafter, do not take a 3rd straight quarterback in a row, bro. I'm begging you. I'm going to go ahead and get Matthew Golden stacked up here with Jordan Love. So we get our version of Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, and now we're going to be looking for this year's Chase Brown. They selected Chase Brown at pick 124. I mean, my version of Chase Brown this year is Bayshell Tootin. I'm going with Tootin. Will surprise no one. One of my most drafted running backs. I have been trying to catch up on Tank Bigsby, but Tank Bigsby serves a purpose on teams for sure, but I'm trying to get the spiritual successor to Chase Brown. All right, our next pick will be a wide receiver in the 12th round. Do I want to go Romeo Doubs or Kyle Williams? Romeo Doubs gives me the double stack. Kyle Williams is kind of like the vibe of the Pearsall pick a little bit more. I think I'll go Kyle Williams. I think the spirit of this selection was a rookie. I like Dobbs, but when I can break ties in favor of, mirroring the picks a little bit more, I'll go ahead and do that. So I'll do Kyle Williams. And now we're going to be grabbing our final running back in round 13. I think Rachaad White and Braylon Allen, Ty Chandler, he was the RB2 that people were kind of excited about having a potentially bigger role. I think that's Braylon Allen. He also correlates opposite Kyle Williams in week 17. So there's our final running back, Braylon Allen. And now we're going to be going wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver. The Jermaine Burton pick does feel kind of Pat Bryant-y. I think I got to do it. This is like a dunk on myself because I love Pat Bryant, but staring at this Jermaine Burton pick, I am going to go ahead and go with Pat Bryant right now as my Jermaine Burton. All right, next up we have the Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen selected at 172. We pick at 173. All right, Thielen goes, so I can't do the Thielen theme. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a very good proxy for the Adam Thielen selection. Slot receiver, kind of boring, low ADOT, but gets the job done. Now we have back-to-back tight end picks after getting our Adam Thielen. All right, who is going to be our Noah Fant? Zach Ertz seems pretty Noah Fanty. Let's do Zach Ertz with Laporta, and then we can do bigger swing with this next one. I should probably just do Jonnu. I get Chig on a ton of Cameron Ward teams. Jonnu, way more Juwan Johnson-y. Don't ask me for my scientific comps on what makes someone more Juwan Johnson-y than another. Is purely vibes based. Yeah, let's do Jonnu here. I'm not a huge Jonnu guy. His ADP was down to 176 and he goes at 197 here. So yes. And now we just need our wide receiver. We're going to try to get this this double stack with Bo Nix. Look at this, the queue getting cleared out, but no one's going to take Devon Vele from me. Devon Vele, come on down. We did it. The LG build, the 2583 that shipped BBM5. This team by LG, I'm not reading off his full username this entire video, is the most balanced build of all the winning BBM teams, having selected 4 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 1 quarterback through the first 6 rounds, essentially filling out a starting lineup. Once again, the onesie positions with this challenge were tricky for me. I thought I had perfectly set up 8th round Mahomes, which does feel eerily similar to LG's 8th round Joe Burrow last year. He had the premium double stack with Chase and Burrow, and I tried to do the same thing with Rice and Worthy. Of course, I got sniped. I did try to bounce back by building out a game stack with the Chiefs and selecting Bo Nix, who of course they play in week 17. So it kind of makes it work, but not nearly as satisfying as pulling off the double stack. Like Pat's team, LG also had Kittle at an absurdly good price in the 6th round, which as you saw meant I once again had to reach for Laporta to lock up a tight end in the same round. I think this team would have been a home run if I could have gotten Mahomes and then played tight end a little cheaper, especially because I was going to end up at 3 tight ends anyways, because that's what LG did in this draft. I still think this is probably the second best team behind the BBM1 Recreation, so not all bad. I realize that this exercise is somewhat silly and that I tried to replicate the identical pick-by-pick selections by these winning teams, and no one has to do that in reality. But I do think when you put hard constraints on drafting, similar to doing an isolated drill in a sport, you fine-tune some muscles and sharpen your drafting skills so that you can employ them more successfully when the shackles are off and you're not having to play by those rules. My biggest takeaways from this exercise are: 1, don't try to force a specific structure. Elite quarterback doesn't work if an elite quarterback isn't there. Same for elite tight end. Let the room dictate your decisions early in the draft and then build the best structure around those first 4 to 5 picks. You'll end up with a ton of different structures if you approach drafts flexibly. Number 2, always be planning. A huge theme for this challenge was making sure I was setting up logical quarterback selections later in the draft. Knowing where the quarterbacks who stack with your pass catcher go, or vice versa, is super important in drafts. Look at exactly where you pick and how the ADP lines up. Advanced planning for those stacks will help inform earlier selections. Next up, 2025 drafters are getting funneled to similar structures over and over again. Specifically, balanced running back wide receiver builds early, paired with late round 3 quarterback and 3 tight end teams. Every single one of these winning teams, other than Fareed, had either an elite quarterback or an elite tight end in the first 6 rounds. Don't be afraid to mix up your structures. I think my favorite thing about this exercise was just the excuse to build out very unique teams that I wouldn't otherwise build if I was playing strictly off ADP. Overall, I'd say the BBM1 hyper fragile build with an elite tight end at the top is the structure that holds up the most in 2025, which is funny considering it was done 5 years ago. But ultimately, I think almost all of these structures work well in 2025, depending on your draft slot, depending on your room. If anything, it's probably the Fareed team with taking 3 straight running backs in that dead zone area that's probably the least viable. But the rest of them, I think you can really execute well if you have a little bit of flexibility in how you do so. Let me know in the comments which team you think is the best and which structures you think hold up the most in 2025. Lastly, shout out to my guy Sal Stefanile for this idea. Great thought there, Sal. And we'll see you guys next time in the Deposit Kingdom.